Hello and welcome to Forever Bristol City podcast, the morning after the night before. Second time in a week we've done that, and looking forward to the end of the season. We're going to be having quite a few of these Saturday morning jobbies, but we'll talk about Sky scheduling in a little while. It feels like a win this morning. The doomsayers, I include myself amongst them, thought we were going to get hammered last night after poor performances against Stoke and in midweek against oh God, who was it? Blackburn. There we go. But we went to Vicarage Road, we'll say full of hope, and we emerged with a point because the final score: Watford 1, Bristol City 1. I'm joined today by Ant Banks, Dave Tovey, and the other half of the tribute act, Proclaimers tribute act, Neil Sutton. As we always do, thoughts at 5 to 10, and when the final whistle went.
Absolutely delighted. And I know it's only a point, but in seasons there are statement performances, and statement performances can come in the methodology of Sheffield United, away where you go there and you win 4-1. They can come the other way, where you lose heavily, like at Stoke. But what last night was a statement performance which basically said, we're bedraggled. We're dragging our carcasses to the international break. We're dragging the same players. There's more Bristol City players have played 90 minutes than any other club in the league in a high intensity route. But they play that game. They deserve the point. It wasn't a case of they were battered in any way, shape or form. And it was a sheer weight of spirit that came through on that at the end. You can see the togetherness in the squad. You can see the working for each other. There was an interview Mehmeti did post the Blackburn game where I think he was hypercritical of the squad. We need to do more. We need to show more. They showed more last night. And I think anybody who went to that game and anybody who watched that game cannot doubt the commitment that is in this squad. And it was a real statement for me, and I was delighted with it.
Excellent. Dave, your thoughts?
It gave me a sense of hope. It gave me a sense that the season isn't crashing down. I don't quite fully understand where that turnaround came from, and I put it down to the fact that they were closer to the end of the race rather than the middle when you really suffer. But I also don't think it was a coincidence that it came when in a game where Twine actually was very effective and played very well. We often speak on here about certain people standing up and being leaders, and he led by example yesterday, I thought, in his performance. And going forward, I haven't been having the best of football weeks mentally. I've been a bit down on City in general, but watching that turnaround yesterday gave me a real sense of hope.
Okay, Neil.
Well, I think when we were sitting down before and we said the 3 games in 6 days, what are they going to be able to turn it on in the 3 games in 6 days? Yesterday was the type of performance. In some ways, you saw things in yesterday that you wanted to see in the Blackburn game that were missing from the Blackburn game. So it's consistency over a period of time, but you're playing the same players, or even less last night, of course, because there were 2 more injuries. So some of the things that we saw last night, I think, were a reaction to Tuesday in relation to it. Some of the togetherness, the resilience, the hard work. Of course, I didn't see it after 6 minutes. After 6 minutes, it was almost like, oh God,
Here we go.
Is it Dean Holding's last game all over again? So I was mightily impressed last night, particularly when you saw the bench and the squad and who was starting in the first to actually come out with the performance we did.
Yeah. Okay. Before we do that, one of either you, Ant, or Dave, you've got a speaker in the background because I can hear Neil coming out on there. I don't know whether that's one of you, just a minor little sound issue there. All right, I'll turn things down at this end a bit, but there we go. The team lineup and 2 goalkeepers. What was all that about? Lumley and Max and the team. Mayulu gets a start. 2 strikers on the bench. What were your thoughts?
I didn't see it coming. And I think it would have been a very, very brave man to predict that lineup. And the other thing is, I think it's a very, very brave manager to have picked that lineup. In respect to the 2 goalkeepers, I think it's almost as simple as there's no other bodies and you just well fill the bench and get someone there, hopeful win or draw bonus. The chance of Joe Lumley coming on were very, very limited in the extreme. Was I surprised to see Miulu? Yes, because I don't think he's shown anything in his cameos. My only conclusion from that, and I think it was probably borne out by how Reece looked when he came on, is that I think that Reece probably still isn't fully fit, and therefore the calculation that Struve was making was, do I get 60 minutes of Fally Miulu, who conceivably should be able to run, should be able to press, is fit, and 30 minutes of Reece, who is operating probably at 60 to 75% capacity, or do I try and flog Reece for 60 minutes knowing that he's not going to be getting the ball up there? So that to me was behind the Miulu move. Again, I thought it was the right move to bring Viner into defence, and that absolutely bore out during the game. There was one superb block, but also the bit that we said during the week, there was progression from the back, which was missing. There were balls going into the midfield. There were lines being broken by Zach. He was carrying the ball. I thought Zach was fantastic last night. And the three in midfield, I think they said on Sky a few times, it looks very lightweight. It looks like a lot of work on Randall, but you cannot knock, with a couple of just off-switch moments, the work rate of Mehmeti and in particular Twine last night. So I was surprised, but pleasantly so with the way it came out.
Dave, Ant used the word brave in terms of team selection. I used it bizarre with having the two goalkeepers. There were calls for Roberts to never put a City shirt on again after an inept performance in the middle of the week. Were you fearful when you saw the lineup and questioning why two keepers?
The two-keeper one, not so much, because I think I would have questioned the two-keeper one more if it would have been at home. I think it's more of a case of just, are we going to take that extra person away, lose game time elsewhere? Are they going to get on the pitch? Realistically, no. So it didn't, I understand the argument of the experience, but going away from home, I think it just would disturb someone's routine more than necessary. They wouldn't get a benefit from it. In terms of the starting lineup itself, I wasn't enthused, if I'm completely honest. I was looking at it thinking, where's the energy coming from? And the first 20 minutes played out to basically as I was concerned. We started well for a couple of minutes, and instantly it was like a training ground game for Watford. It was too easy for them, and it was this is not what I wanted to see. This is going to be an uncomfortable night. I felt like he could have done more and letting a few of the youngsters start. But ultimately, as the game progressed, it proved him to be right.
Neil, we talk about squad rotation. Watford were able to make 6 changes. They'd won their previous 5 home games, 3-0 against Middlesbrough last week, creditable point at Leicester, although they're no great shakes this season. We were going into this fully expecting a different outcome.
I think the bookies made a hell of a lot of money last night. I would imagine this would have been a banker on a lot of people's betting cards with regards to it. I mean, for me, with Fally, I don't get why some of the players aren't playing in the under-21s. If you're talking about sharpness, you're talking about fitness and all of these things, why is Fally not playing for the under-21s at the moment? It was always the way, wasn't it? The combination days. You play in the reserves, you get your match sharpness, then
we used to play 2 games in the reserves before he came back to fitness. That's how it used to be. So
if he's getting single digit minutes for the first team, why are we not playing him in the reserves, aka the under-21s and some of them as well? I mean, Naki Wells a few years ago was playing in there, wasn't he? And
he encouraged. That's how Tommy Conway got to be the player he was. Because Naki coached him along.
So I think with all of these, like Morrison, Yeboah, Peckover, Thomas, they don't play in the under-20.
They're not getting competitive minutes.
They're not getting minutes in the under-21s, and then they're not getting minutes on the pitch here. So I'm a bit lost at the moment with the squad rotation, how you can turn around and say Leo Peckover is actually, he's training, brilliant, training, but actually match minutes. The players that are on the bench there, Meerholt, Morrison, Yeboah, Peckover, Ollie Thomas, they should be playing under-21 games. And then, or at least some minutes in under-21.
Yeah, half a game.
Yeah. And then coming onto the bench. I don't understand quite the way we're rotating players between the under-21s and the first team at the moment.
Okay, I'll ask that. Well, Dave, what do you think about this players getting minutes, because last season Morrison, if he hasn't, then he's going to get them again this year. He'll have splinters in his backside. They've got to have competitive minutes. And when players come back in the day, and I'm talking like when the football combination existed, you would have a player who was out for 2 weeks, maybe 3, and then he'd come back, and you would always have a game in the reserves. Yet now we don't seem to do that. You know, if Max Bird was fit, although he's had a setback, but if Max was coming, he's been out for a very long time. He should really be playing 3 games as an overage player in the under-21, should he not? And these young players in the squad, they should be getting half a game at their age group when it's competitive.
I mean, that tends to be the issue with players playing, sitting on the bench for too long. I mean, in one way with Fally yesterday, we're judging him on a certain standard. When he doesn't get that game time, he ultimately doesn't play enough in certain circumstances. And I think there is a strong argument to drop down. But for whatever reason, you don't really see it as the done seeing it. In 1 minute, you're playing in the under-20, under-21, under-23s, and the next minute, you're sitting on the bench. It's all about that game time management and being fit. And if they did that kind of thing, the next thing we'd be saying is, well, they're injured because they played too many games in a short period of time. Ideally, players coming back from injury, you would like to see them doing exactly what you suggested because it makes good sense. But too often we have players like Morrison last season sat on the bench, and ultimately he has not progressed as we would like because he wasn't getting game time. And that's one of the differences that you can see this season, is that at least the players are getting on the pitch and they're looking more comfortable with each appearance. They're not necessarily looking, you imagine you make your debut, how you feel. Each time you step on, you learn more about what it takes to succeed at this level. And I didn't feel that sense when they came on yesterday of please hold your own. It was, right, this is, you're more, it's more of a natural thing yesterday. And that's basically Struber backing up his words and giving them minutes. And what I would say is that if you are an academy player, getting that game time at the end of games, you learn more than you do than playing at a younger level.
Okay. And your thoughts on that, and picking up on one of the comments on the text feed, Farmland's Foul fan. He said a bit of Morrison not coming on when Roberts went off, and that move exposing Meti. And I don't want to dwell too much on that, but just on players getting minutes. But that particular one of Morrison, that was his position to go and play there, wasn't it? So does that mean Struber doesn't rate him?
Taking that one first off, I think for Morrison, you can also read Jen Meerholz there, because we spoke that Jen Meerholz was natural next cab in terms of central midfield. But also, if I remember rightly, at Aldershot, he's been playing more of a left-sided defensive role. And therefore, you could have quite easily put Meerholz there or Morrison there. Where that indicates they are, I don't know. But I do agree with the comment that Mehmeti was left exposed. And I think Mehmeti was probably lucky to still be on the pitch at the end because he'd already been booked. Yeah. And it was a relatively robust challenge, shall we say.
Yeah.
He's obviously on 4 yellows now. On the broader point, I might be wrong here on a couple of things, so please correct me if I am. I believe Yeboah has had a lot of minutes on 21s. I think he has been in the squad, so he may be the exception that proves the rule there. But I'm also got in my mind that it feels to me that we've had a lot of scheduling conflicts with the under-21s and the first team this year. I think there's been some games where the juniors, for want of a better term, have been on the same day as the seniors. I certainly know that's happened on Saturdays. And also when we're talking the heavy injury load, if you've got an under-21 game on a Tuesday, you don't really want to be playing there because you may well need them on the Wednesday. My instinct is I'd rather people are playing football, so they're ready to come in absolutely. But I also get the counterbalance of managing minutes. With the coming back from injuries front, I do think it is slightly differently. There's a lot of things you don't see anymore. You don't see people having fitness tests on the pitch before a game, which we used to have, all those kind of things. And I think actually, if they are just going to sit on the bench, you would much rather them get 70 minutes in an under-21 game. We should use that. That does appear to have disappeared from the game as a whole. Yeah, I would say so. I don't think we're alone in respect to it. But in the context of why we're not playing the under-21s in the under-21s, I would probably look at the schedule generally, because I think the schedule generally has not been favourable. I think there was one the other day where I think Mereholes wasn't including the under-21s. I think they were playing on Tuesday afternoon, and we were playing Blackburn on Tuesday night. So,
no, you're right. Yeah, because you're not going to have a player involved in 2 match day squads on the same day or even successive days. Interesting. I don't know. Somebody who's watching might be able to go and look up whether there are any under-21 games scheduled between now and when we look at this. Look, Neil's got it here. Under-21 games. So QPR, we're playing away at QPR on the 11th, which is Tuesday, and then we're playing away at Watford on the following 17th. Monday.
Yeah,
on the following Monday. So there's two matches where players that are on the verge of coming back, I mean, the regular players could play, and there's also matches where all of that crew on the bench, Mereholes, Morrison, Yeboah, Peckover, and Thomas, and Fally, could all get minutes. One thing that I observed yesterday, as I'm sure everybody did, but didn't observe it in the way that I'm going to comment now, is the yellow ball was the same colour as their shirts. And I think that's confusing, but that's just me. That's just a little thing. That's just a little quirk of mine. That should we play with a different
summer then, have we?
Should we play with a different ball colour?
If we played with a white ball, it would clash with us.
No, but you could play. But back in the day, we keep saying this. Back in the day, we used to play with orange balls. Who remembers games at Ashton Gate on the snow where the ball was orange? Yeah, you see that highlights from the 1970s with Barry Davis and Hugh Johns commentating. Blah 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 blah. Let's get into the action. We had a chance early on. Twine. Good shot, just wide. Let's go through the goal. 6 minutes. Louser, is that his name? That was a Glenn Hoddle-esque type pass, 60 yards, but we should have done better with that, shouldn't we, Neil?
I have no idea what McCrory thinks he's doing there. He just points. You take him and then turns back. From the camera angle, I can't tell if he's got a player out on his shoulder, but the guy's made the run. Bowler, isn't it? Bowler's made the run inside, and McCrory's just pointed at him. But Tanner is looking completely opposite direction. He's got his back turned. So what's the point? Why is McCrory just pointing at the player, telling Tanner to actually giving a shout when Tanner's got his back turned to him? You know, it's just like in that situation when you could see the run that Bowler was making, and he just doesn't go with it at all, and then just points. Tanner has no idea until the guy's actually passed him. Yeah, it was a great pass. But it made the pass look that much better given what McCrory just...
Gone through his head that he's a Scotland call-up?
I don't know. There's something about McCrory when he's defending sometimes where, you know, he's a good player and he's been a good signing and he's an adaptable player. But there's times when he's defending, when you get balls across in the box where he's static on crosses, he doesn't attack defensively the way he attacks offensively headers. When he's defending, he's statuesque.
Body position.
I don't know if it's body position, but he's just static, and often players get in front of him or whatever because he stands and he waits for the ball to come to him, sort of when he's defending.
Neil's doing the movement here. For those of you that are listening, Neil is doing a body position.
That's my centre back at Yate Town days when I'm just like motioning and inside myself. But it's annoying because when you're taught defensively, you're taught to attack the ball defensively, not wait for the ball to come to you. And often when the crosses are coming into the box, you'll see it. Next time you watch him at Ashton Gate or whatever in the thing, he's static. When the crosses are coming in and players nip in front of him or whatever like that. And yes, I just didn't get what was going through his head when he just let the runner off him and then he's pointing to the back of Tanner saying, "You're man."
Yeah.
And Tanner's like...
And then ambling back. I mean, I think he's a good player. I don't think he's a great player. And if you look at how much he cost, because he was up there in the £2 million mark, I think he plays better on the other side, to be perfectly honest. On the left. Dave, the goal and you know, culpable. I mean, somebody said was describing the overrated Vitek was one of the comments on OTEB last night. Should he have? I mean, it went through the crook of his arm, the goal, but it was. You know, we thought that was the beginning of an avalanche, didn't we? And it was a good ball and a good finish.
Well,
could have been cut out.
I think it was. Yeah, first of all, it was a top quality first touch. But the issue comes that if you give championship players that much time on the ball, you have to recognise that you're in the wrong in the wrong position, you're in the wrong shape. And ultimately what it comes down to is a lack of synergy. And just to defend McCrory for a second, he's thinking about going for the press, which is why he lets the guy behind him slightly, thinking that Tanner will pick him up. He then recognises that the press isn't on, and then there's a complete lack of synergy from the whole side, because what they do is, as a whole, is maintain a high line. So they maintain the high line, that with the fact that McCrory does not then track back thinking, oh, I can just pass it on to Tanner. And what you are beaten by is the simplest of balls over the top. And it comes from the fact that McCrory doesn't track his man, and also because the back three as a whole are not advanced enough, and Tanner's just a slight bit behind them. He's not in line with them, which gives the attacker the opportunity to get up to full speed and get in behind. Tanner's not really responsible. It comes as a back three not dropping off together, and it comes in not recognising that we're just not on them on the press. And it was like it for the first 15 minutes. They were just playing around us. It was like a training session, and that goal was an example of that. And unfortunately, if you give players time, they do have the quality to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he took it well, Ant, didn't he? The striker Bowler, more crosses than any other player in the championship, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, they were on Sky at the early stages saying that they highlighted the battle between Bowler and McCrory, and for me, Bowler won that, because I don't think that was the only time that McCrory got caught too high up against Bowler, particularly as opening stages. I think Bowler did get ahead of him. In terms of apportionment of blame, if we take the 3/4 phases, I don't actually have a huge issue with the standing off of Loser originally, because he's quite far back. That ball's got to go a long way. You don't trigger the press at every opportunity. For me, I wouldn't have triggered that press at that moment. And if Ross is thinking the press is going to be triggered, he's probably not thinking absolutely fully clear, because it's almost too deep to trigger that press at that time, because as soon as you do, you're creating the spaces in behind you. A ball goes 60 yards, you should always be cutting out. Now, let's be frank about that. Ross doesn't track the man. Tanner's got somebody in his eye line as well. So Tanner's actually got another Watford player he's picking up. So when I see the accusation of, oh, it's George Tanner dropping too deep, at very most, he's a yard, if that. He's not 5 yards behind the play. He's a yard behind the play, if anything. So for me, the ball travelled 60 yards. You've got a man potentially 1 yard behind the play, but you've got your right wing back, who you know is matching up against their left wing back, who hasn't gone with the player and doesn't go with the player quite a lot of the time during this. So for me, I think there's enough time to react to that pass. And if the reaction is, I'm going to point for you to go to him, that's not the right reaction. Could Vitek have done better? I think, in the words of someone of his parish, it's one of those. He comes, it goes through the gap just there. Now, what Vitek does is Vitek is very good at making himself generally quite big. If you make yourself big, you're going to leave a hole that someone can go through every now and again, because if you're going like this, you've got a gap there. Going like that, you've got a gap there. So actually, it goes in the one little slot where it can possibly go in respect to that. If he has his arms tight to his body, he saves it. But I don't want my goalkeeper having his arms tight to his body. I want my goalkeeper making himself. I
don't fault him at all for that. I'll come to each of you and I'll stick with.
I think just with Vitek there, I just got a feeling on the goal that he rushed out and just got a little bit too close in a way. Just the coming together of the two of them was just a little bit close, and it made it look as if it was too easy for Bowler. The Vitek made it easy, whereas I think they were just a bit. Yeah, he rushed out, and all he needed to do was almost tap it. He didn't leather it or anything like that, really, did he? He sort of tapped it. And that's why, as people are saying, Sherwood was saying, oh, that's too easy. He's got to be braver and all the rest of it. I don't think it's about bravery. I think just they came together very, very quickly, because Bowler was at the speed that he was, and Vitek coming together, and all it needed was a little tap. And then it went through as Ant said.
I saw that after. I thought it was incredibly harsh, because ultimately, you're going to be facing a one-on-one. You're trying to, it's very difficult to read that someone's going to do a touch like that and get yourself in the right position. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, you're making an instinctive position on guessing where you think you need to be best for a one-on-one.
Yeah.
And I thought that his comments were extremely harsh. I don't like.
Well, I don't mind him making criticisms, because if Man United are watching and they hear that, then there's no danger of him going back in January. I'll stick with you, Dave. I'll come to each of you for pretty much a yes/no answer on this. Roberts, who we thought was good, bit of a scare on 12 minutes, clattered into Petrus. Dave, penalty or no penalty in your book?
I don't think so. I don't remember the thing that you're. Oh, that means it in the first half. No, I don't think it was a penalty. No, I don't think so.
Ant?
No, tug outside the box. Potentially you can give a foul there, but then the guy dives as soon as he gets in the box.
Yeah, and you concur?
Yeah, not for me with Roberts. I mean, it's the one time he actually put some aggression in, really, other than maybe he's learned a little bit. Maybe he's had a few people in his ear after Blackburn about his aggression and physicality.
Yeah, and I have to say, referee Paul Tierney last night, it was probably one of the better referees that we've seen this season. Again, around the table, Dave, yes, good refereeing performance.
Well, he seemed to give us a lot of decisions. I'll say that much.
I thought that as well.
Put it this way: if you're a Watford, if there's
that's a yes from Dave. And he wasn't a homer, was he? I could hear their fans shrilling discontent.
I thought he was excellent. You have enough poor referees. I thought he was very, very good last night.
But just to say, if you're on the Forever Watford podcast, they are right now talking about one of the worst referees of the season, just to give it a little bit of balance.
I know. And you thought he was a good referee as well, Neil, no doubt.
Yeah, I think we've had some fairly decent refs this year, really. I mean, I can only think of a couple of games where I'm thinking, but we haven't had terrible decisions.
We haven't had howlers, have we?
We haven't had howlers.
I
think,
think
but generally the refereeing, we know it's always going to be a little bit indifferent, but I think the refereeing's been all right generally this season.
Yeah. We were playing our way back into the game. I mean, they had chances. Vitek put his first save in from Kaumi. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Kunda, poor touch from him, unmarked, should have scored to make it 2-0. Then I think it probably is game over. But then we started to get back in. 23 minutes, Mehmeti cut in, had a shot saved. Neil, 25. We said Twine had a good game. I hold my hands up. Twiney was great last night. He got more involved. He was playing deeper. We had a chance on 25 minutes when good play by him put Armstrong in the clear. The cross was poor, but those two seem to be working well in combination down that right side.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to the second half chance in due course, but I think with it, I think Armstrong actually knows where Twine is going to put the ball.
Yeah.
Which, given that Armstrong isn't the most natural of football intelligence, those two link up quite well, actually, in relation to it. We got the ball. He knows where to put it for Armstrong. Armstrong knows how to make it. It just had the look a number of times during that game. This is something they've been working on in training. Yeah. Get the ball to Twine, right. Sinclair, when Twine gets the ball, this is the run you have to make. This is the way he's going to do it. And a few times during the game, it looked like a training ground.
And do you think that's better, having Twine playing slightly deeper? Because if he's got the play, if he is more involved, we're not going to have this, well, what does he do? Because it only comes in flashes. Because he probably had more ball touches last night than in the previous 2 or 3 games on aggregate.
Well, he's never going to have the pace, is he?
No.
I mean, set aside the Southampton goal where he seemed to outpace the entirety of their side, bizarrely. He's never going to actually go past players, and pace-wise, he's not going to necessarily be effective running the channels. But if you get him on the ball, often one of the things with him is that they will double team him. And if they're double teaming him, that creates space for others in relation to it. But if he comes deep and he's got the time and the space, the issue for Twine, obviously, is when you get tight on him, when you're physical with him and when you get tight on him, that's when he struggles. He hasn't got the pace and that sort of first touch to actually get away in a championship in the way in which you probably get away with in League One and League Two. So there's aspects of his play that are not championship standard, but given the time, given the space. I remember up at Watford, was it last season, he hit the post from about 35 yards or something like that. And that probably plays on him a little bit, with relation to the press. But yeah, he was finding pockets of space really effectively last night.
Dave, Twine playing deeper, more involved, chance to shine. Neil said the opposition double up on him to create space for others. But and we'll come on to the goal with you as well at this point. But more involvement. And Neil says he hasn't got the pace, but you wouldn't exactly say Randall's got pace as such, has he?
I think it's just sometimes, well, it's easier to be creative when the game is in front of you. And generally speaking, Twine has been playing. I don't think Twine overall this season has been poor. I think it's been pretty good this season. I just think in the last couple of games, especially in the last one, he just disappears into that hole because in some ways, if you're not getting the service, if you're not being picked out in the pockets, you disappear. Whereas yesterday, because he was slightly deeper, he was able to be the guy that was making the plays and finding those holes for other people. And he was much more effective at it. And I think it does suit him to be slightly deeper if you're going to let Anis say, right, you're the guy that's got to get forward a bit more. And he's not afraid to drive with the ball. It does suit him. Just before you do move on, I just want to highlight something because we're going to come to VTech later. But there is a save that he makes in the first half that is a world-class save. The ball goes through, it takes a deflection, and somehow he literally gets his leg to it. And we're going to talk about what are good saves and what are should saves. That was a save that was a world-class save that not every keeper makes. It was a stunning save. But back to your point on Twine, yesterday was one of his best games. He was effective and the team was better as a result.
And you concur with that view?
Yeah, I mean, I used the phrase on Wednesday that Scott Twine was hiding. And I think he was hiding in terms of commitment. I think he was hiding in terms of the things we know he can do, which is using the ball, taking things on. And the first thing I was really pleased to see was he took the shot on in the first 2 minutes of the game. Because in the last few games, he's not been taking that shot on. Somehow protested, it took a deflection, it didn't, it was just wide. But almost like, right, you're going out there with a degree of intent. You're going out with intent. You're going to try move the ball, win the ball. You're going to be looking for the ball, and you're going to be looking to play players in. And if I look at the difference between Scott Twine in the last couple of games and Scott Twine yesterday, it was yes, he's a little bit deeper, so he's got the opportunity to get a bit more involved. But you've also got to have the intent to be a bit more involved as well. He was showing the intent. He wanted the ball. He wanted to pass the ball. He wanted to move things on. And you say about that one where he played Armstrong in, which I have sympathy with Armstrong on the cross there because I think Miulu and Mehmeti just aren't moving from him in the box, and he's got literally no options after he gets played behind on that one. But we will come to the goal. But the goal was coming. And the reason coming is
let's talk about the goal. Let's talk about the goal, and we take it round. Yeah. So the goal, as you say, the goal was coming. Petrus brings Armstrong down, and you have to say Armstrong's playing with a smile on his face now. He's almost having an epiphany moment a few weeks ago, whether it was that rocket that Tinian gave him at the fans forum last month. But there's a player in there now. He gets brought down for the foul. So, Ant, you take the floor talking about the free kick.
Yeah, well, first off, what I'd say is the reason I say it was coming is it was the third time in quick succession that Armstrong had stretched and got behind. So that free kick doesn't happen without the first two stretches, because the first two stretches, they've realised he's got the run on them, they've realised he's got the pace on them, and it becomes down to a degree of panic. Now, a couple of things on this. Number one, it's actually potentially a penalty because I think it's debated whether the contact's in or outside on there. It is a definite foul. The second thing, and if you remember when we played Derby and the free kick in the last minute from Twine where it nearly goes in, and what Twine does there is Twine moves the ball inside a good few yards without the referee seeing it. And we can say Paul Tierney refereed it well yesterday, and he did. Twine moves that ball from where Armstrong's original position is and moves it to get a far, far better angle. So it's actually a really bit of intelligent play by Twine. It's bad goalkeeping. I think two things can be true at once. It's a really good strike, and it's the only place you can put it. But if it's my goalkeeper, I'm really disappointed that he's not saving that. And just on their goalkeeper, in the second half, we had a free kick, which was probably about 30 yards out, quite central. I was really disappointed that Twine didn't go for that one because you could see the keeper was holding himself like that before, and he eventually had to go off injured.
Yeah.
And that was the one point I thought we weren't alive to it, because he got injured, I think, on the Armstrong chance. I'd have just gone for that, because the keeper's not moving well. But it's a really good free kick. It's really poor goalkeeping, but there is a huge amount of credit that goes to Armstrong, because Armstrong has gone through the third time, stretched them, and that's why you've got the panic from the defender. That's why the foul comes.
Yeah. Keeper should have done better.
Christ,
Yeah.
I mean, to be beaten at your near post like that, I think.
And I think who was it saying about free kick? The eyes, was it Sherwood? Not everybody's favourite pundit, really.
I think, in all honesty,
he knew he was going to place it in that corner, wasn't he? Because it was,
every team nowadays has its analysts, has its, reviews. That they will have, any team against us is going to review Twine's kicks, because it's something that we often just keep him on the pitch for. When we sit there and some of the games, you're like, why is Twine still on the pitch? He's still on the pitch in case we get a free kick, basically. And in his run-ups where the ball's going to go. Now, I knew watching that he's going to go that near post. It wasn't a mystery to me in relation to it. So the way that the keeper actually set up, and the keeper wasn't anywhere near it either.
Well, he bundled himself into
not even got really a hand to it or whatever. So in terms of it, he was slow getting across to it and getting bitten on that near post. Yeah, you'd be very disappointed if that was your keeper getting.
Oh, if one of ours had done that, if Max had done that,
if it's a central kick like he had against Blackburn, where and entirely right, what Twine does quite intelligently, the Blackburn one that he had that they jumped and it hit the header. He moved it back about 3-4 yards. So as long as you don't move it forward, I think the ref is almost giving you a little bit of license to move it left, move it right, or move it backwards or whatever like that. And they don't seem to be too fussed about that sort of movement on it. But if it's central, I get it, because the keeper's like, is he going left? Is he going right? But there, he's never going to hit it in the top corner of his left. No. It's always going to be going to the right.
Yeah. Dave, they showed it up on the graphics on Sky, in the top 4 divisions, no player. He's top of the league since 2017 in terms of long-range free kicks. He scored 14 goals now for Bristol City in his time here. 6 of those have been free kicks. Goal number 6 of the season for him. When he does something like that, which is a one-off, and his overall play, maybe save for the last 2 games when he was a bit weak, but he's looking like the player that is worth the money we paid, isn't he? Yes?
I think so. I think it can be very easy to judge him because he cost us so much money. But when you look at the cost of other players at this level for some clubs, he delivers pretty well in that respect. I think that we're seeing a much better version of him this season. And when we see the best of Twine, he's good. It's something that you want to see. You want to see him involved. But sometimes the biggest criticism I have of him is that when he has a free kick, he is the man. But he needs to bring that more to the games, like he did yesterday. He acted like the man yesterday. He could have had 2 assists. I thought he played very well.
Yeah.
Just to take it back to the goal a second, because I saw a comment that the goal gave the energy. The goal didn't give the energy. The energy came before the goal. And it started around the 20th minute, and it took a couple of tackles. And we can talk about chess and philosophies, etc. It was more than that. It was just a couple of harsh tackles, a bit of a bite, and all of a sudden there was a zip. And then from there, we started running into the corners. And we've been speaking about a team that's been tired, low on energy. What happened for that goal? It was Viner steals it, pass it to Anis to Armstrong running the channel, bang, 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 in 10. That goal was an earned goal. Absolutely, it's a goalkeeper mistake, because you shouldn't be scoring from that angle by diving into the goal. It makes no sense. But it was the kind of goal that we built up to from somehow turning it around. Because I literally, at the 17th minute, I was like, this is not going to end well. This is not going well today. This is far too easy. And from nowhere, they found something. And it's truly impressive what they found to pull it out, to finish the second half. From the 20th minute onwards, the better side.
Yeah, no, we were.
I mean, another criticism potentially I have of Twine is when you see the way he is at free kicks, I expect more from him in crossing, and I expect more from him at corners.
When he takes the dead ball.
Yeah, when he's taking a dead ball in free kicks out wide, whether it be wide left, wide right, he's got the ability to whip the ball in a way that he does in free kicks. And when he first came on loan, I remember there was corners and before he got his injury.
Awful.
Well, no, I mean, when he first,
he
he was whipping in, and we looked dangerous at corners and at set pieces, and then just he's not there with his free with the free kicks, the crosses.
Well, he's good. He's good when it's a scoring
like
opportunity, but his ability. What you're saying is, Neil, his ability to deliver a free kick of danger, not one that's going to be a direct into the net, but it's lacking a bit. But we don't want to be critical.
I do think that we judge him to an impossibly high standard at times because he's the poster boy, the one that we spent the money on and we overspent on. We somehow expect miracles from him every time. And I think we're a little bit harsh on him at times because if you look at it on a solely numbers level this season, he's producing. And you know, that's all you can ask for from that position.
All right. I just need to kick on a bit here. Mike Membry and also Jacob talking about Viner. Ant alluded to it early on in this episode, just before half time. He did a block on the edge of their box. And again, I said it a couple of weeks ago, you know, this is a guy that probably will be leaving City in the summer to get a big money move elsewhere. But he's playing with a level of commitment that you have to admire, because when you go in for tackles like that, you don't know how you're going to come out of it. You could get injured and that big money move's gone if he got an injury like McNally and ACL. So Zach Viner, he is playing with his heart on his sleeve and he's fully committed to Bristol City. Into the second half, Irakunda was in the clear. Or what have you, Lanza, Armstrong, we had a little bit of a clattering moment. The first chance for us coming on 55 minutes, McCrory to Mehmeti, left foot shot, Neil. Good, I mean, Anis did everything right there, didn't he? And the keeper just touched it around the post. And I have to say, it wouldn't have been against a run of play if we'd have taken the lead there. Or indeed, had we emerged as winners after 90 minutes.
For me, when Mehmeti, when he shoots early, it's when he takes 1, 2, 3 touches sometimes and you think, oh, and then it gets crowded out. When he shifts, it was almost like the Leicester. Do you remember the Leicester goal that he scored back at Ashton Gate a while ago? When he takes the ball early, it was a good save. Good save by the keeper because he took it and he went through the legs and he must have seen it later. Very impressive save. Yeah. But he's more effective when he shoots early.
Yeah, good save by the keeper. And then it was a good game to watch on telly on a Friday night if you're neutral. Dave, the play went up the other end and Irakunda went on a strong run. I mean, they were no slouches, Watford, were they? And Bola put a chance just wide. I mean, it was an energetic game considering we looked so lethargic on Tuesday night.
Yeah, that was the curious part of it. And, you know, I was asking myself, like, this is, you know, I was telling myself even, this is the response I wanted on Tuesday. And at one moment, it was a case of, well, why? How is this happening now? And I really think it was because they knew it was just before the international window. Yeah. Whereas on Tuesday, it was knowing we've got this game and the next game to come. And the mental effect of we just have to get through this. Whereas yesterday, it was like, right, we need to push here. This is it. One final push and we get a break. And it was an enjoyable game because Watford were going for the win the whole time, but we were holding our own. And someone that comes in for a lot of flack is Tanner. And this Anis chance comes from him driving forward, as a fullback does. When he puts on his fullback head, supporting the play, looking to get forward and playing with the winger, he's very effective. He can cause damage. And that's what you need more of if Tanner's going to play in the side going forward in a 3, because his little chaos adventure is what creates a little bit of space for McCrory to come inside, but it is a top quality save at the end of it.
Yeah, and on the hour, double substitution from us, Mayulu and McCrory going off to be replaced by Yu and Reese. Of the 2 subs that came on for us, Yu, I thought, was terrier-like. Reese, I think you alluded to earlier, is, you know, if Reese is only 60% fit, you might just as well give him a rest and let Ollie Thomas come on, which Thomas did in the end. But the timing of the substitutions and who went off, and Mayulu, he didn't offer anything last night, did he?
No, regrettably so. And I go with what we said earlier on the back of that. Actually, those 2 under-21 games, I'd be playing him in both of those without a shadow of a doubt. Is it match sharpness? Is it lack of ability? Is it something else? I mean, Chris Iwalumo was doing the Sky commentary and he was fairly scathing of Fally all the way through. And it's not about what you do when you've got the ball. It's what you do when you haven't got the ball. And there was one where I think Twyner played the ball into Emil Rees when he was on the pitch, and the ball was slightly too high for him. It was probably about half a yard too high, so he couldn't get over the top of the header. It was the right ball to play. And as was correctly pointed out, that chance coming, Rees got the space because Armstrong pulled away and took defenders with him. What I didn't see from Fally was necessarily some of the off the ball work, which you would be able to do, which offsets you. Because we all sit here and say they've not scored a goal, they've not made an assist, they've not done this, they've not done that. Actually, it all fits together and you can contribute to a goal without ever actually touching the ball. And I didn't see a sign that Fally was going to do that. I go back to that Sinclair Arms when we said poor cross. Fally is just static in the box. I don't know whether he hasn't got the instinct, for want of a better term, or the desire. I think technically he can do good things, but there's something that's missing at the moment. And Struber has done very well to light a fire inside Armstrong, which has given him that missing thing in the last few games, where he's really approached with pace, power, desire, and looks a real handful.
That's the word. That's the word, and desire.
Yeah.
And that is what Sinclair Armstrong is displaying now, because we saw Armstrong come on last season for cameo subs appearances with 15 minutes to go, and after 10 minutes on the pitch, he looked like he played 85 type of thing. Yeah. Desire. I don't know how you instill that in a player. I mean, if I was getting paid 10, 15 grand a week, I'd have plenty of desire. But that's the word, isn't it? Desire. We had the desire was across the pitch in every department last night, wasn't it, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, talking about Fally, it's just got the look of a player. He knows he's not going to be here in 2 months. Quite frankly, he just looks like a player who's like, yeah, okay, I'll try my best. I'm not really. It's difficult to motivate and get the desire into somebody when they really know that it hasn't worked, that they're probably likely going to be going out on loan or permanent, whatever. And it's not helped by Tinian saying what he says about, the January window at the fans forum in relation to it. But like Ant says, I mean, one thing Rees does, even when he's 60%, he's obviously carrying an injury. He's not as he was the first half a dozen, 6-7 games. But Rees takes players away. He makes unselfish runs all over the place, and he's taking players and creating space for others, particularly Mehmeti. When he was on fire, he was doing it, and the space was created for Mehmeti to actually go forward with his runs. With Fally, he's just static.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
The ball's there, and he's not doing the unselfish work on the pitch for the other players. And you often see as well, when he's on there, players hesitate at passing him the ball.
Yeah,
he's not an option in the way in which they used to pause a little bit with Armstrong, but now Armstrong's starting to preempt and make those runs, so they know they can hit the channels with Armstrong. The players have got.
And the one thing that Armstrong has got is that pace. Yeah, and I think technically Fally has got some close control capability, but he's just not got the desire. And I remain convinced that, if we watched him play 40 times, that wasn't in the flesh. That's on bloody video. I reckon somebody conned them and they saw the other Mayulu and what you can do with AI these days. Remember, who used to watch Dream Team back in the day when you could tell they were using footage from Chelsea, and AI wasn't so good then, but you could see the players with their orange shirts and the player moved, but the shirt stayed static.
The thing is with Fally, for me, if you were to see him, there was a training day before the start of the season. I went down to see him. You saw the first team sort of training. Fally, I think, is a finisher. He's got some talent with the finishing, and I'm sure in a 5-a-side game, a 5-6-a-side game, Fally looks quite good.
Yeah.
Because he's close control, he's got his big land, but boom, hits the ball well, good finisher. There's elements to his game, but when you're playing a centre forward in the Championship, you've got to be more than just a 5-a-side. That you've got to do the unselfish work, the hard work, and all the rest of it. And I just don't see that in his game, in a way, because he hasn't got the pace. I always remember seeing him for the first time. I went to Aldershot away last season for the very first game, and I was watching him then, and I thought, this is not the player that I imagined.
Not the player that you'd hope.
Because he almost like runs through treacle a little bit. He's got this language.
There's no acceleration. No, that's the word. I like.
No. There is acceleration. He just chooses not to use it. And I'll give you an example of it. In the first half, when Armstrong had the ball out wide and he got in the channel, Fally makes a run to the near post. He has his afterburners on. And it's like, oh, so you do have the pace when you sense a goal might be on the table. The issue is that he doesn't do enough of that. He doesn't move it that
maybe we get into his head, conscious of time, because it's a busy Saturday for all of us. They made a triple substitution. They brought on 3 good players, but took off 3 as well. And one who came on was Barr. 63 minutes. Twine set up Armstrong. I think that's the one-on-one chance we were talking about that was blocked. And as that was blocked, I think the loose ball went to Randall, and he did his one sloppy pass of the evening that I can remember, when it was intercepted by Bowler, and then the ball eventually making its way to Mama, if that's the right pronunciation, and he missed.
Are you talking the one-on-one chance from Armstrong? The one that went up down. We need to talk about that in a bit more detail, because that is a derelict of striking duty in that moment, because it's harder to not score from that situation, because the first things first, the pass is exquisite, okay?
Yeah.
Second point, there is a pass to Reece. Just pass him the ball. Just give him the ball. You've got a whole pitch. Just tuck it that way, and it's a goal. You choose not to do that. Don't then shrink as a striker. Enjoy the moment and put it in the net. What he does is he chooses not to pass. He's extremely selfish or not aware of what's around him.
All right, let's not. Look, we're trying to be great. I didn't. You described it very well. I didn't want to. We've bashed Armstrong enough, but you when you look at it like that, I mean, I think it was 3 against 3 at the back, and he should have done better. I'm sure, Ant, you're going to agree with what Dave said, that that has to make it 2-1 to us. And as I say, wouldn't have been undeserving of all 3 points on the night.
No, I mean it should go. It's a great ball. I actually don't disagree with Armstrong taking the shot on. I think I want him to gain more confidence. He's got the confidence of the goal against Birmingham. I think the keeper does well in terms of the standing up. I think he actually does pretty well. One thing I just do want to back onto, as you mentioned, Adam Randall is one bad ball of the night. As we know, I'm a massive fan of Adam Randall. I think he's an absolute quality player. The bit around that is he makes the one bad ball a night, and it comes through to Mama. And what's happened is Randall is the man that actually makes a tackle on the edge of the box. So he makes the bad ball, and rather than some players want to do, sit there and go, I've done that, what do I do next? He's straight away into the next phase. There is a reason why Adam Randall is always where the ball is. It's because he reads the next phase so well, and he makes that tackle on the edge of that box. And I had to double check it basically, because I thought, hang on.
Well, he showed great legs at that late stage in the game. Well, just after the hour to get back there.
My player season by far.
Those substitutes that Watford brought on did make a difference, because round about the 70th minute, there was a flurry of corners. I counted 4 saves that Vitek did, and they were what saves that he should do. But the ball was being peppered in or around the City goal, and you're hoping that we can hang on. But we did. We were never in any danger. Twine had that other free kick. I did take a sharp intake of breath when I saw Tom Ince coming on, because he looked like Andrew Ridgely coming on last night. Andrew Ridgely of Wham. Not how Andrew Ridgely looks now, because he's in his 60s. But Tom Ince came on, but didn't really do much. And we closed the game down pretty well, didn't we, Neil? I mean, we looked like we were in control. Yeah, we had a couple of attacks. We didn't take it to the corners, did we? Like
Ollie Thomas coming on.
Ollie came on, at
the end there to give a few more minutes. I I think we were all surprised after that first 6 minutes. After the first quarter of an hour, I'd say. I wouldn't just say it was their goal. I think the first quarter of an hour, you're looking at it and you can't quite see. And then they grew into the game. And then actually we saw out. I mean, it's no surprise that Vitek gets man of the match.
Right.
Given some of
Did
his.
he?
Yeah, and quite sensibly so.
I thought it was harsh
really.
on Twine, but just there was a moment at the end of the game I'd like to talk about. We were 3-on-2. We've crossed the halfway line with 3 of our players, you in possession. And this is the frustration with you, because yesterday I felt like he came on, he was showing a bit of aggression. He maybe struggled a bit to begin with, but he was working, you know, he was part of the rear guard.
Down in that corner, the far side.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that corner, he's really giving it some. Like,
he was snapping away. He was like a little piranha there, wasn't he?
It was good to see. And then he gets an opportunity going forward, 3-on-2. And you think, well, we're at least going to test the keeper here. And we don't even make it to the penalty box because his pass just isn't good enough. And that's the issue with you, is that when it comes to a quality pass, too often he's found wanting in the big moments.
I just wonder with you, once we get to the summer, once we get to the end of the season, whether he disappears out on loan somewhere.
Well, he's not as good
because he's a Japanese international. He's not going to want to sit here and be on the bench.
He's a Japanese, I think, 1 cap international. So that's not saying.
His English is good. His English is good because when he was beavering away down in that bottom corner, we got a throw in, and it was his mouth that said it. It was our ball, not delivered with a Bristol dialect, but it was definitely you shouting out our ball in English, obviously, because I don't understand any Japanese.
I think the thing is with you, and it did sum it up, Dave, in that last minute, because we can talk about him being terrier-like, piranha-like. I've seen comments like, I like you. What does you give us? He leaves it all on the pitch. Great. For me, that's the bare minimum of any player, and I'll get very much when people don't leave it on the pitch. I'm yet to see any kind of quality, and some of that will be because, is he a 7? Is he a 10? Is he a wing-back? It was a confused signing, which I maintain was signed in part because he is a Japanese international. You look at the time we announced the signing in the morning. I've never seen us announce a signing at 8 a.m. just so we can catch the Japanese Twitter market, something like that. So
they do like to buy a shirt, the Japanese, don't they?
Exactly. Has he done anything wrong? No. Is he a signing that necessarily fit? Probably not. And you're looking there. He's the one fit senior player that was left on the bench last night.
Breaking into the box, he's often, the goal he scored at home against MK at the start of the season in the Cup, great finish. Remember Preston last year? It was Preston last year. Again, he has ability in and around there, but we never get him on the edge of the box, really. We never get him into those positions to shoot, really, do we?
We are a third of the way through the season now on 6 bar 1 game. So using my favourite word, extrapolation, 23 times 3, 69, win the odd game, 46, 72 points. It's been a decent start to the season. Of that, there is no doubt. It's come in fits and starts. Up to the first international break, 4 games, 2 wins, 2 defeats, 8 points. That bit between the 2 international breaks, 5 games, 1 win, 2 draws, 2 defeats. And then this latest run, 6 games, 3 wins, 1 draw, 2 defeats. Brought a degree of respectability to it. 10 points from those 6 games. I know I predicted 7. Dave, you predicted 9. I think you reminded me on the text last night. Let's talk about a few things. First of all, congratulations to Alex Scott on getting called up for the England team. Not the same Alex Scott that's going to be an I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. That's the other Alex Scott. Anybody know? Do you think any of you know? Are we due some more money from Bournemouth? Was there maybe a clause that said we get some if there's a international call up or maybe appearance? Anybody know that?
It's more likely to be. We wouldn't have that necessarily announced, so nobody knows. But the likelihood is it's more likely to be based around a number of appearances rather than one call up.
All right. Yeah.
Yes,
I think he's just going along. I think he'll just be going along for the ride, to be honest. But fair play, his contribution to Bournemouth has been acknowledged. I'm sure we've got a sell-on clause there, and although I think he's got to make some improvement to, I mean, I think to a degree, we took Bournemouth's pants down getting 25 million quid for him, or 20, whichever number you want to
I
have.
totally disagree with that.
You see it? Yeah.
Yeah, you can see from the first moment he played. I mean, Nigel Pearson said he played for England. Nigel Pearson was absolutely right about that. He was a level above any other young player that's come through here.
Yeah.
25 million for a Premier League club is absolutely nothing. Now, if you go through this, there was a feeling that he might have to move from Bournemouth to actually get to the next level.
Yeah.
Areola has made players not necessarily have to move from Bournemouth. He lost so many players during the summer, and they're playing so well still. To me, the only shame about this is that Semenyo chose Ghana, because you can quite easily see Scott and Semenyo, and all you need then is Chris Martin getting called up, and it's back to a few years ago. But, he's Scottish, we can't have that. But, you know, it would have been great to see those two players playing there for England together. I would be delighted to see Scott playing for England because, he is, both him and Semenyo are such decent people by all accounts as well.
Yeah, no, decent human being. Look, I have to say, you know, Alex Scott is, I'll call him an immaculate player. He's an elite player. But for me, said it at the time, I don't think, he knew he was a footballer there, but I don't think at our level he affected the game as much as a player of that level should enough times. Yeah, I thought he's classy, he's silky, he's a silky top flight player, and he's got his just reward. We could spend another half hour talking about the injuries, but you know, the injury situation that doesn't seem to get any better. The worst bit is the setbacks people are getting. Let's talk about it very briefly. Dave, there's one thing getting injured, but we're having too many players that are having a setback in their recovery period. That's worrying, is it not?
It is. Is it because it was a setback? Is it because it's been diagnosed incorrectly? I mean, I think you've brought it up in the past. We never seem to have players out for a couple of games and then come back quickly. It's always 4 games, then it's 8 games, then it's Christmas, then it's Easter. It's too many. I don't think it's just luck. I don't think it's just one of them things that happens. I think there's something more to it that they've got to try and understand, but it's not something I'm an expert in to really give a comment on. But just with the evidence we have, I don't think it's just luck.
So, Amir, and you've got some views on this, yeah? Tell me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think let's separate some of these. So separate Josh Stokes, for example, Mark Sykes out of the injury cohort because it's a metatarsal for Stokes. It's a large gash for Sykes. Those things happen. What we're talking about is the one that really is a mystery to me is someone like Max Bird. I still don't know what's happened with Bird and what the continual setbacks are. We do appear to have longer streams, like McNally is not until January, February at the earliest now, I think.
A lot longer.
Yeah. So there is something that's happening here. I mean, I said the other day, what I'd probably be looking at doing is I'll be doing a root and branch. That's the absolute here. But someone like Paul Tanner, I know that there has been talk of Paul Tanner needs to speak to the media, yada, yada, yada. You look at, actually, is it a case of he had this level of injuries at Millwall when he was there? Because he was there for 7 years. And at which point you're saying, right, is it him? If he didn't have this level of injuries at Millwall or this level of repetition, then you're saying, right, is it something that's a more local factor? So let's isolate the local factors, because there's a lot of word about the pitch, because the nature of the pitch is the pitch where it's suitable for both football and rugby, and it's a little bit more firm. Is that causing potential injury sometimes or not helping in the rehabilitation? It would be negligent in the extreme if we didn't look at it, bearing in mind where we are now. So I'm expecting the club to have a proper look at it. Do I expect us to be appraised of those results? Of course not. No. Because we don't need to be. But so when people say they need to come out and talk to us about this, actually, no, they don't, and I wouldn't expect. And that's not GDPR or anything like that. That's just sensible management.
Yeah.
But they should be doing
behind closed doors.
Surprised if they're not.
And I think the business about his record at Millwall, I'm sure somewhere around you can get player availability minutes. I've seen those statistics there. So you could look at Millwall over, and 7 years, if he's there for 7 years, that's a good sampling period as well, to be able to say, well, you know, there's a 25, it's the same as there, yeah, or we're 25% more or something like that. Your thoughts, Neil?
I just think when I look down at the players that are injured at the moment, we've got Atkinson out injured. He was out for 2 years. So his injury record, he got injured at Portsmouth. He's been injured here. You know, he part of the rehab for the ACL is taking part of your hamstring and putting it in there. So you're always going to have problems with your hamstrings thereafter in relation to it. Max Bird injured at the start of this season, then came back pretty much all over the summer. Again, injuries that are coming up, but they're not. Knight, for me, is the only real one where it's like his availability has been really, really good. And now, unfortunately, he's got this injury and they said 6 to 8 weeks and here we are.
We won't see him this side of Christmas, I don't think.
It's a lot. But Nally, it looked innocuous, but then I'm
So did when Atkinson went down at Sunderland.
No, I was at Sunderland.
Was it?
And he went down and he didn't move, whereas McNally got up and walked off the pitch. So, but then it flares up the day afterwards, and I'm led to believe McNally, the operation didn't go well. It was a failed ACL, so he's had to have another operation or whatever on the ACL. I'll be surprised to see him this season, McNally. Pring's availability over the last
3 seasons,
2.5, not been great. Joe Williams,
poor, bar one period.
You know, availability, just various injuries on injuries on injuries on injuries. He's had a big setback, Joe Williams, with his hamstrings again. If we see him by spring, I'll be surprised. Mark Sykes, that's unfortunate with regards to
didn't wear the right shin pad.
No, they don't, do they? The small shin pads. But before then as well, his fitness at times, you know, when you see these players, it's rare. Stokes. I was at Fulham when the Fulham game when he got stamped on. It was unfortunate, but they're so lightweight boots nowadays, aren't they? That with the metatarsal. But again, his availability, he picks up injuries left, right, and centre. And you know, over the last season, 18 months. I mean, I'm off to Swindon today. I'm going to go and see Swindon Tranmere today because it's a free set. I might get some Knight LaBelle, Adam Murphy type things because I was just thinking with the loan players. But again, Murphy, you know, we're buying players in. So if we're looking at the players that are injured, they're not. Rarely are they just this one injury. They're a catalogue of injuries over a period of time.
So that's something that we need to do when we look at players, is their availability in their career today. Dave, you've got a quick point to make before we go on to the final.
I just want to ask you a yes or no question because I know we're short for time. 15 games in, 1/3 of the way into the season, do you think all of you will finish in the top 6? For me, the answer is yes, I do.
I'll say I think we've got a very good chance. So yes. And
okay.
I said that it was erring towards mid-table in the week, and that's purely because of the injury situation. If we can get, because yesterday was spirited, fantastic stuff. You can't go on running on fumes. So if we get players back, then yes. If this persists up until Christmas, I will be very surprised. But I wholeheartedly think we've got the right man in charge to maximise what we can do.
Neil?
I'm going to go no because I'm just going to say, Anna, but I'm going to say you look at how many fixtures next month, and I just don't think we've got the squad depth to actually get it to force to get the results, to get those 3 points. I think we need a little bit more. And I mean, it was positive at the fans forum when they were saying, Tom Rawcliffe was saying, "Oh, we're going to be active." You know, Struper was saying we're going to be active in January. Let's see the proofs in the pudding a little bit as to January, but there's so many games in December. If we think this is bad now and we're putting 3 keepers into the squad, what are we going to be?
Well, we've got this week. We've got this week to recover, or 2 weeks. But then it goes Swansea home, Wrexham away Wednesday or Tuesday or whatever, Portsmouth away, and then a free week, and then it goes Millwall home, midweek, Leicester at home. Saturday, Coventry away, and then the following Saturday, Borough at home. A couple of rare, one 3 o'clock kickoff at home between now and Christmas, which is the Borough game. What am I talking about? No, it's after Christmas where it all goes.
We've got 9 games in 5 weeks.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's going to test the squad.
With this squad at the moment, I don't see the injuries. The players necessarily coming back in.
Well, they're not going to have match fitness.
No,
they're not going to have match fitness. And look at who those fixtures are against, because look, the next three, Swansea, Wrexham, and Portsmouth, we got to be looking at getting at least 6 points. We got to get 6 points from those two, because then when you look at the next three, Millwall, Leicester, Coventry, and Borough, the next four, that takes us up to the week before Christmas. That's tough.
It's the same for everyone, but I don't think
we've run out of time, guys. We could have talked about all these games being played on a Friday. So obviously, Sky viewers as box office, so that's a good thing. You got any plans for the international break, Ant? What are you up to?
I'll be managing my under-14s. So the international break for us comes at half term, and now we're back in the full swing of it from tomorrow. So if anybody's short and they want to come and watch football, you're more than welcome to come to Sunnyside playing fields in Yate.
Okay, Dave, what are your plans? I was going to say in sunny Germany. We used to say sunny Spain, but what have you got lined up? How many Dorf games are you seeing?
I've seen a few now, actually. I've actually seen them get a whole point. And in the last game, there was 12,000 away fans, and it was a spectacular atmosphere, I have to say. And there was a lot of away fans in the home end, but it was a respectful but spectacular atmosphere. In terms of your question, for me, just more an extra gym session, that's all.
There you go. And what about you?
Well, there's some big games for my team that I'm director of football with. We've got games against Barrow and AFC Clevedon coming up. Massive games. It's real 6-pointers in relation to it. But today, I'm off to Swindon. I might take in a couple of games. We've gone down to. I've been last season. Went down to Exeter. Stood on the big bank down there, which is great. The terrace behind the goal, saw Exeter Wickham down there as well. So it's nice to take in some other games as well around it. And then you often see players playing at that sort of level, and you think, oh, could they make a step up or whatever? I saw Ali playing for Milak Ali playing for Exeter, and he stood out. And then obviously went to Luton in relation to that hasn't gone particularly well for Luton. But sometimes when you drop down and you see games in League One and League Two, you see there are some gems there. Yeah. There are some good players. Don't forget we bought Tanner in from Carlisle. Yeah. So there are the players there to make that step up. It's all about proper scouting.
Yeah. Oh well. No. So as for me, I'll be learning to play the old clarinet as you do. I like having a break from football when the international break's on. One of my tasks today is to take back my pack of 4 shirts that I got from Charles Turret, however you pronounce it, with the realization that, not extra slim or even slim. I bought 4 shirts, and I said to Mel last night, I said, I think I need regular fit, don't I? And she said, sit down in the chair, and she said one of those buttons is just pulling there. So I've repackaged those 4 shirts, and they're going back by whatever means you get stuff back there. Quick word: sad to see the demise of Nelson and Tickenham, who have collapsed mid-season.
I played it. My team plays.
Oh, you play on their pitch?
Yeah, we play on it. They haven't folded. Right. They've just pulled out of the Western League. Yeah. And like Bitton, when Bitton pulled out of the Western League, their hope. Well, they will apply to try and get in Western Div 1. I don't think they will, because normally you drop down 2 divisions. So it'll be then going probably back into County Prem, because Somerton have folded in the County Prem, Somerset County Prem, Somerton. So Nelson Tick, County Prem next year, I would say.
Oh, that's good that they've not gone totally down the tubes. Well, look, everybody, enjoy the international break. We'll be doing, I might do a piece with some of our fringe contributors between now and then. Swansea at home, the verdict, will be recording that either 9 o'clock on Sunday morning, the 23rd, or we might do it at 6 o'clock on the Saturday evening, depending on who's available and how we're feeling. With more of that near the time. But everybody, enjoy the international break, and we'll see